Today, the consuming classes in Asia, those who buy luxury bags, etc., are probably about 500 million. There are 3.5 billion, 2.5 billion who are not even in the periphery yet of consumption as we understand, those of us who are more privileged. If they consume like the OECD model, the game is over. So we need to redefine what we mean by consumption. In my view, the whole issue of poverty alleviation, etc., is going to run into, or probably run into that brick wall of consumption-led growth, because it essentially disproportionately extracts natural systems to the point that those who need it the most are deprived. So if you look at it in a wider scheme of things, I mean to many forums where people talk about the last 30 years of over leverage, etc., I typically say you want to take 30 and multiply it by 10. It's basically been 300 years of exploitative growth, essentially one in which we underprice everything, we externalize costs. When I'm more cheeky, I suggest that if you want to look at the premises of that economic model, look to slavery. I mean, slaves were the first underpricing of resources. Then we had colonization, which is let's take things for free. And then we had globalization, then globalization of finance, which is essentially let's live beyond our means. Now, this is not a left-wing rhetoric, etc. This is about where do we go from here. And I would finish off, Aaron, by just suggesting we will need to understand in this part of the world, I'm not sure what the West can do at this point, apart from good rhetoric. But in a way, it doesn't matter, because the population of the West in 2050 will be about 700, 800 million people, less than 10% of the world's population. What does matter is the decisions taken in this part of the world. And we will need very, very different ideas of what human progress would mean. And I would like to have that honest narrative discussed in the business forums, etc., rather than the sort of a rather simplistic view that we can grow endlessly and somehow that there are no limits, that somehow we can innovate and everything will be all right. There are limits to what we can do. And this part of the world will define the 21st century, not because we're special or we have Asian values, etc., simply because the numbers matter. And I'll end by saying, therefore, I argue that we will need very, very tough rules.